Welcome to a lesson from Coast Institute of Technology, a center of excellence in tourism and hospitality studies. In today's lesson, we are going to learn about first aid, and the topic for today is arm fracture. Lecturer is Kipkemoi Tanui. Welcome. Let's first begin by defining a fracture. A fracture can be defined as a broken or cracked bone. The break is usually complete, but it can be bent without breaking completely. This is called crane stick fracture. Arm fracture is common due to its frequent use to protect the body, like when one is falling down during sudden pull or push, among other causes. We have to locate the point of the fracture immediately. The correct first aid management of fracture in both conscious and unconscious casualties is essential in order to reduce the amount of tissue damage, bleeding, pain, and shock. What are the causes of fracture? The first cause is direct force, a blow that breaks the bone at the point of impact. The second is indirect, that is when the bone breaks at some distance from the point of impact. The other one can be due to abnormal muscular contraction, like in elderly persons. What are the effects of fracture? Yes, we can now look at the effects of fracture. The first is bleeding. We know that in fracture there can be excessive bleeding that leads to a loss of considerable amount of blood. It can also result in the damage to the tissues and the blood vessels. Fracture can also bring about severe pain and also possibility of shock. What are the signs and symptoms of fracture? One, that it brings about the break that may have been felt or hurt. Pain is also common. Difficulty or impossible abnormal movement to the limb. There is also loss of power. There is also deformity. There is also tenderness when gentle pressure is applied. There is also swelling over the fracture and possibility around it. There is also some bruising around the area, and there is a coarse grating sound if one end of the bone moves against the other. Learner, we have to explain on the steps to follow when administering first aid to a fracture. Step 1 is that we need to have a first aid box. We need to have in the first aid box these particular items. 1, we need to have a bandage, a triangular gauze. We need to have a safety pin. We need to have a soft cotton material. We need to have also supporting material firm. We need also to have surgical gloves, and we need to have a scissor. We have to ensure that we put on the gloves before we begin. The second step is we are supposed to immobilize the limb firmly to a splint, so that we discourage extent of the damage that can be caused to that particular section of fracture. Having put on the gloves, we have now to place a sterile sponge and carefully secure the place of the fracture, taking care not to affect or to extend the fracture on the point where we have located. We have to do this one quite in time, so that we cannot also lose more blood, and we need to know the feelings of the casualty while doing this one. Then, as we do this one, we have to bandage above and below the fracture. This should be done quite fast. A good first aider can be fast in this, and so it's possible to accomplish in time. After doing that, we have to secure the bandage using a safety pin. Then we need to look at the triangular gauze located from the first aid box, that is actually the arm sling. We have to remove it, we have to stretch it, and then have actually to put it below the arm and one longer part going towards the neck on the opposite hand. Then on the opposite end of the longer part also we have to stretch it to the elbow. As we do this one, we have to note the positioning and also the allowances as we begin to put on the point of the fractured arm, and also you have to turn well the edges, bring it together carefully, and bring it also very nicely in such a way that the turn to the farthest edge is brought to the shoulder. Then we have to bring it nicely to the shoulder. Then we join the edges firmly behind the neck. Then we have to tie just around that point carefully, ensuring that the arm is not actually too loose or too close to the body. Check that also you bring about the safety pin, you attach it at the point near the elbow, and you secure it very well around that point. Ensure the comfort of the casualty as you do this. The other step also is we are supposed to quickly arrange the transport of this casualty to the nearest hospital. We can do this by calling the number for the ambulance in the nearest place. We are finally now supposed to reassemble the items not used and place them safely in the appropriate first aid box. Do it carefully so that we cannot lose anything. Package them well and take it to appropriate place. Then you assist the casualty to rise and walk to the health facility, and perhaps there's a vehicle waiting, so you take him there. This video was produced for Commonwealth of Learning, and acknowledgement goes to Mrs. Allison of Commonwealth of Learning, Jack Kumi, the facilitator of AVU2, George Hard of Commonwealth of Learning, and also AV2 team at Masai Technical Training, and also the FSD family at large. Thank you for watching, and have another good lesson coming week. Thank you.